Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today we've got DMs who used to be players. Have you ever reused one of your former PCs as an NPC? And how did that go? Part 1. I DM and play back and forth every week, and I always used my PCs as bartenders and named the tavern after them. So once I made a homebrew gargoyle fighter who was super nice and protective in a gentle giant kind of way. He was the barman in the first campaign I DM'd, Curse of Strahd, and I named the tavern the Gracious Gargoyle. They're usually just the hook for the first session, or sometimes they're key NPCs. It all depends on what my players decide to do with, for, or sometimes to the character. Bane, my necromancer bard, ended up in my world as an official Grim Reaper of sorts. He did a little of everything, jumping into the dream world to help give nightmares, played at the local inn to help pay for the orphanage, raised some dead to help them seek vengeance, and healed up some folks when a giant monster, I think it was a Voth, came and attacked the city. A few of the PCs ended up becoming friends with him, but they mostly got on his nerves. He's one of those good necromancers who do evil things because the living never seem to take care of or respect their dead. So he has to do their job for them. When he found out one of the characters never mourned for her dead backstory parents, he was pissed. That didn't end well and actually upset the player, but putting the fear of the evil necromancer into the never shows emotion night was fun. Bane is now an NPC in one of my former players' worlds. She plays with two of the players from the campaign Bane originated in, and hearing how one of them still has a grudge against Bane for pulling a prank on him, dressed a scarecrow up in the character's clothes so he had to walk around in his PJs to find them, from that old campaign has me a little worried about how she is going to play him. I kinda want to ask if I could just jump in and play him for her, but since she hasn't offered, I don't think she needs me to. Yes, I was DMing a campaign and the party members were all level 5. My PC, level 15 human fighter, was the guard commander of what was essentially the hub town. And I also used another party member's character, with their permission of course, as the big bad evil guy, as the two characters had a long-standing rivalry. And with how that campaign ended, it made sense for both players to be like that. Anyway, after catching up with the big bad evil guy, the party talked to him a bit when he implied that he knew the commander rather well and suggested they keep an eye on him, heavily implying that he was the traitor they were trying to find. He was not, of course. This was simply an attempt to prompt the party to ask about the two characters' shared history. Unfortunately, one of the players saw what the BBEG was doing, attempting to use the party to kill my old character. So the party ran back and immediately attacked the commander in the barracks in the middle of the day. Well, needless to say, it didn't really go their way, even with combat ending before more guards arrived. It was fun to show off just how outmatched they were, essentially wiping the party, non-lethally of course, without even getting hurt. The party faced little consequences, because out of game I thought being wrecked like that was punishment enough for them, and in game they finally realized that the big bad evil guy's whole deal is charming and manipulating people. I've done this a few times, but I'll only cover 2 of them. Well, 2.5. One of them came with an NPC they were friends with when I played the character. Sapphire Swift Runner was a swift stride, shifter arcane trickster rogue I played for a couple months. It was an interesting concept of a campaign, not so much for the setting, but because we were rotating DMing every 4 to 6 weeks to let someone else run an arc of the story. Her backstory was that she lived in the land of Osei and was raised by jaguars after her parents were killed. This went on for about 20-ish years until she was discovered by a traveling merchant's caravan who took her in and taught her how to speak and read and all that sort of thing. They also discovered that she had an innate ability to be really stealthy. She was very gifted at sleight of hand, and she was exceptionally intelligent and learned to read and write remarkably fast. She could also temporarily shift into a jaguar-esque form thanks to becoming one with the spirit of the jaguar, after being raised by jaguars, of course. But because of this, she was utterly clueless on the ways of society, and bringing her from the wastes of Osei to the civilization of the Dalelands of Faerun was a drastic change for her. She reacted to every new thing with the curiosity of a 2-year-old. And it took her a while to, well, as she put it, learn how to people. When that campaign ended, I really missed playing the character and the antics she got into, like stealing the pants right off some poor chap in a tavern, all while trying to acquire enough money to rent a room for the party for the night. So, when I began running my own campaign at the end of 2019, I used Sapphire to introduce a slaver group into the campaign. In the campaign I had played her in, we had rescued some people from these slavers who I eventually called the White Raven, when I took my turn as a DM. So in my new campaign, I had Sapphire come in as a backstory character for one of my players, and we played out rescuing her best friend, Tharsa, who had once again been captured by, you guessed it, the slavers. Sapphire eventually traveled with the group for a time and even moved into the village the players lived in. She became a reoccurring character in the story, and the party met the leader of the slavers, who was one of the big bad evil guys, while yet again attempting to save Thasra. However, the best PC turned NPC I've ever used had to be the PC I played in a friend's campaign who literally should have been an NPC to begin with. He was a dairy merchant with a slight Russian accent who usually talked about himself in the third person, and was a likable guy, but, well, not really the sharpest knife in the drawer. His name was Torvat, and he was loosely based on Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof. His biggest shtick was selling cheese. Would you like to buy some cheese? Torvat has the best cheese. Come, see for yourself. I tell you what, I give you a sample now. You come buy some later, okay? He was by far the worst character I've ever played because he had zero combat skills and had no interest in fighting anyway. He had a daughter to raise, and dragging her around everywhere wasn't going to be good for her. So he left the campaign and became an NPC both in my friend's campaign, where I occasionally drop in to play him, or in my campaign, where he became a dairy merchant, whom the players convinced to move to their village. To this day, if I'm talking with any of the players who were in that campaign and I drop into my Torvat accent and say, "Would you like to buy some cheese?" they immediately start talking about how much they miss Torvat. God, I love you, Torvat. Sell me some cheese, buddy. I used to be a player in the tabletop games we'd run with my husband's old college buddies. We ran a few games, and between us, my husband and I had a total of 8 characters who were all very different. A few years later, we put together a game ourselves. I wrote the story and created the world, while my husband ran combat encounters. All of our old characters came back as NPCs to fill up the central city hub we had made. For the most part, they acted as mentors for the party of players I had, people who could help train the party in their various skills. We had new original NPCs we made as well, but these 8 characters were people who could be recruited to help in battle that already had character sheets ready to go. Of course, we like to run our D&D campaigns in the same world, so a lot of our old PCs end up in it. I think the most notable is Soul Foldrun, a level 12 fighter, or maybe ranger, I forgot, and legendary bounty hunter. This player played him as a stoic, silent type who got the job done. You knew that if you encountered him, oh, shit was getting real. We also had former PCs return as villains, informants, and briefly as allies. It makes the world feel more lived in and like our characters have their own lives beyond the adventure of that campaign. I used one of my most chaotic evil characters as a sage. The setting is homebrew. The world is new, or at least that's what my players think. 7 sages, heroes from other worlds, came to this world to help ensure that the world survived. The guardian sage, who watches over a final resting place of a great evil, is named Boculus B. Quay. My Kobold Barb Ranger, I changed them to being a full Ranger build for simplicity. My players recently got introduced, and 2 of them were around when I played him. They got so scared, and it was really fun. My first PC, Vale, was a changeling rogue whose campaign ended in a hurry when the DM grew tired of DMing. So I chose to pick up the campaign with Vale as an NPC quest giver in a siege campaign. It was my first attempt at DMing, and it was a success, focusing on the PCs with several other NPCs from the previous campaign returning. That group disbanded due to real-life circumstances, but I was hooked. I wanted to continue playing, so I went on Discord. My first attempt at finding a new campaign was nothing less than an RPG horror story I won't get into here. Hey, if you're still around, tell us in the comments below. We might put it in the video. I'll just say that by the end, I had lost my appetite to play. That's when I told my D&D story to a friend in a server that had nothing to do with D&D and found that he was interested. He wanted to learn more about the homebrew world I had built, characters and all, so I found myself running another campaign on it. And who got to join their little group? Vale, who was hiring their party for some good old-fashioned revenge mission against a god. I wouldn't say it's good old-fashioned, that's creepy. The group fell apart right at the gates of the final fight against the big bad evil guy, to my frustration. So I had a choice. Either give up on this world or embrace the continuity and make it my own, expanding to create a whole new realm to complement the current setting. One of the players who was a part of that final battle was building out his own world at the time, and we started to collaborate on a shared world together, his world combined with mine. Now we've been running campaigns for each other in our shared world for almost 2 years, and we've played multiple characters who have become NPCs in future campaigns. It's been quite a ride, but we're still going strong and enjoying new characters and campaigns. It kept me playing D&D when I was sure I would never play another session ever again. And I'm glad that you stuck with it because D&D is a magical thing. Hey everybody, Brian Von Vier checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course, leave a comment down below letting us know how many NPCs that you've made from a PC back in the day. And tell us about who they were and what they were doing. All the love, everybody. Please be safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.